Have you ever wondered why the very moment you stop yearning for love is often the moment it arrives? Not with fanfare, not with desperation, but quietly, like a sacred truth that no longer needs proving. Some women spend years chasing it, molding themselves into every shape that might make them wanted, softening their voices, dimming their light, shrinking their boundaries like silk pressed against someone else's frame. And yet, the chase only leads further away from what is real. Because what we call love in our hungry state is rarely love at all. It is need, it is fantasy, it is a projection born from the starving ego, the disempowered, feminine longing not for union, but for rescue. She who needs love is not ready for love. She seeks a mirror, not a partner. She is not looking for a man. She is looking for herself in his eyes. That hollow echo, that ache in the chest, that racing heart around the unavailable, or emotionally chaotic. It is not chemistry. It is the soul begging to be seen by the self, not by another. Jung named it well, projection. The man becomes a screen, and onto him is cast the shadow of unclaimed longing. He carries the burden of being both hero and healer, both father and flame. But he never agreed to those terms. No man ever can. And so the illusion breaks, again and again. One more disappointment. One more reason to doubt, but beneath the pain, beneath the cycle, there is a whisper, timid but true. What if this isn't love? What if this is just fear in a pretty dress? In the depths of a woman's psyche lives a wild, sacred knowing. The ancient feminine that does not plead for affection, but commands connection through presence. She is not rushed, not flustered, not desperate. She has returned to herself. She is whole. But this woman is not born in ease. She is forged in the fire of solitude. She emerges when the illusion dies, when the fairy tales burn to ash, and the only thing left is the unvarnished self. This is the woman who stops needing love, and it is only then that she becomes capable of receiving the real thing. To stop needing love is not to become cold. It is not to shut off or grow bitter. It is to recognize that the void you once begged others to fill was never theirs to touch. It is to see that your worth is not increased by being chosen, but by choosing. That you do not become more valuable through someone's attention. You become visible to yourself when their absence no longer haunts you. When a woman lets go of needing, something shifts in her very aura. She no longer clings. She no longer performs. Her silence becomes magnetic. Her gaze unshakable. There is no performance, no chase, no seduction in the old sense, only truth. The kind of truth that cannot be bargained with. She has walked through the valley of her own loneliness. She has met the inner orphan, the unloved girl inside, and wrapped her in arms stronger than any man's promises. She has done the work, shadow work, ego death, emotional reclamation, and in doing so, she no longer mistakes chemistry for destiny or chaos for passion. She has learned that true love does not scream, it listens. It does not take, it mirrors. It does not complete, it enhances. The moment she no longer needs a man to heal her, protect her, or tell her who she is, she begins to attract a different kind of man. The man who does not prey on wounds but respects sovereignty. The man who does not run from her power but rises to meet it. This shift is not magic. It is alchemy. It is the alchemy of becoming. Of refusing to chase validation through connection, of turning inward when the world demands you look outward, of knowing that no one can rescue you because you were never lost, you were only unclaimed. So when love does arrive, it is not an arrival at all. It is a meeting of two whole beings, of two sovereign souls. There is no merging, no possession, no disappearing into each other's void. There is only resonance. This kind of love cannot be hunted. It cannot be willed. It is not the product of strategy, seduction, or even effort. It is a mirror of your inner wholeness. It reflects the self back to the self, without distortion, without fear. And so the great paradox reveals itself. Love comes when you no longer look for it, because you have become what you sought. You are the presence, the home, the sanctuary you tried to find in another. And now you do not seek, you see, you do not ache, you allow, you do not perform, you be. She walks now with a different rhythm, no longer pulled by the thread of longing, no longer tethered to the illusion that someone out there holds her missing pieces. The ache has quieted, not because love has finally answered her call, but because she has stopped calling from a place of lack. Her center is no longer hollow. The woman who no longer needs love does not harden. She deepens. She becomes soft but not weak, receptive but not dependent. Like the ocean, vast, ungraspable, yet profoundly nurturing. She doesn't beg for affection. She extends it. She does not withhold intimacy. She refines it. Her energy does not say, "Choose me." It says, "I choose." Carl Jung knew this shift well. He spoke of individuation, the process by which a person becomes whole, by integrating the conscious and unconscious, light and shadow, persona and truth. Most women mistake love for that wholeness. They project the anima or animus, the inner masculine or feminine, onto their partners, hoping the external will redeem the internal. But projection is not love. Projection is the shadow trying to speak through disguise. To reclaim your projections is to take your power back. It is to admit that what you admire in him is also within you, and what terrifies you about his absence is the part of you still afraid to stand alone. That is why real love can only emerge once the projections dissolve. Once the fantasy is stripped bare and the raw, honest self remains. She who has stepped into this knowing no longer confuses loneliness with emptiness. She has learned the sacred art of solitude, and in doing so, discovered the companionship of her soul. She no longer waits for texts, obsesses over signals, or asks the universe why she hasn't been chosen yet. Because she knows she is no longer waiting to be chosen. She has chosen herself. This inner union, the marriage of the inner masculine and feminine, is where real love begins. Not with two halves searching for completion, but with two wholes willing to walk side by side without collapsing into each other. She has made peace with the protector within her, the fire that guards her boundaries and speaks her truth. She has embraced her nurturer, the healer, the sensual goddess who creates rather than consumes. This is the feminine in her fullness, not in distortion, not in performance. And it is this fullness that changes everything. The men she once attracted, emotionally unavailable, dismissive, controlling, or chaotic, begin to vanish from her orbit. Not because they've disappeared from the world, but because she no longer vibrates on the frequency that calls them in. Her energy, once rooted in unmet needs and subconscious wounds, has shifted. She no longer dances with ghosts. She does not try to heal through romance what was meant to be healed in solitude. When she walks into a room, she does not wonder if she is being looked at. She wonders what she sees. Her gaze is not hungry. It is discerning. She is not seeking chemistry that makes her lose her mind. She is seeking connection that awakens her heart while honoring her mind. And when something feels off, she walks away, not because she is cold, but because she is clear. This clarity is hard-won. It requires the death of the romantic martyr, the part of her that believed suffering was proof of depth, that anxiety was passion, that sacrifice was love. She no longer needs to overgive to be worthy, to tolerate less to prove her loyalty, to twist herself into approval to feel safe. She has made peace with being misunderstood, with walking alone, with saying no without explanation. And in this space of calm certainty, love begins to emerge, not as a rescue, but as a recognition. Real love meets her here, not in the drama, not in the high highs and low lows, but in the steady presence of someone who does not try to fix her or possess her. He sees her fully, and she sees him, not as an ideal, not as a fantasy, but as a man, flawed, evolving human. And that finally is enough, because the woman who no longer needs love does not ask for perfection. She asks for presence. She does not demand constant validation. She trusts in her own radiance. She does not collapse into love. She expands through it. She has stopped needing love because she has become the source of it. Not by building walls, but by healing the roots. Not by turning cold, but by growing wise. She has rewritten the story, reparented the inner child, and embraced the truth. Love is not something you get. It is something you are. In the quiet aftermath of detachment, she finds something unexpected. Space. Vast, clean, untangled space where need once lived. The obsessive thoughts, the spiraling analyses, the self-doubt that gnawed like wolves at the edges of her mind, all gone. In their place, stillness. A clarity so sharp, it slices through illusion like a blade forged in fire. This is where the transformation anchors, not in epiphanies, but in embodiment. She no longer intellectualizes her healing. She becomes it. Her nervous system, once hijacked by the thrill of being wanted, now responds only to peace. She is no longer addicted to intensity. She seeks resonance. The calm heartbeat of safety. The slow bloom of reciprocity. The steady rise of truth. The truth is, she was never unlovable. She was merely asking the wrong people to see her. And now she doesn't ask. She allows. No longer driven by a fear of abandonment, she stops over-explaining. She stops apologizing for her needs. She stops shrinking to make someone else feel big. Her voice deepens. Her pace slows. She walks into rooms like she owns nothing, yet belongs everywhere. Because she no longer needs permission to exist. She no longer needs a man to call her enough. She knows the ground beneath her feet speaks, louder than any lover's whisper. This woman has undergone the alchemical shift from ego to essence. Her ego once cried, "Why won't he love me?" Her essence now says, "I love me." Who aligns with that? The energy is not subtle, it is seismic. She is not bitter. She is not guarded. She is not playing hard to get. She is simply unavailable to anything less than mutual elevation. Her inner masculine stands strong, disciplined, directive, present. Her inner feminine flows free, expressive, intuitive, radiant. Together they move as one. This is integration. This is wholeness. Jung taught that all psychological suffering stems from disintegration, of self from soul, of shadow from light, of identity from truth. The woman who no longer needs love has taken the harrowing descent into her unconscious, where the abandoned parts of her waited in silence. The inner child, aching for approval. The rebel, punished for speaking truth. The seductress, shamed for wanting. The warrior, buried beneath years of people-pleasing. She welcomed them all home. She made space for contradiction, for complexity, for the rawness of being human. And in doing so, she became unshakable. Not because she armored herself, but because she laid down the armor and stood in her skin. So when love arrives, if it arrives, it comes to a woman who no longer sees it as salvation. She does not grip it. She does not fear its departure. She understands its impermanence. And in that understanding, she finds freedom. She is willing to walk away from anything that asks her to betray herself, no matter how intoxicating the offer. This is the quiet confidence that turns heads without trying. The subtle, sovereign power that magnetizes without seduction. It is the power of a woman who no longer performs for love. She simply is love, and those attuned to that frequency feel it immediately. Not in how she dresses, not in how she flirts, but in how deeply she sees, in how calmly she chooses, in how fiercely she refuses to abandon herself, even in the arms of someone she desires. And here lies the paradox once again. She is most loved when she no longer needs to be. She is most desired when she no longer tries to please. Because nothing is more attractive than authenticity. Nothing is more irresistible than a woman who is at home within herself. Seneca once wrote, "He is most powerful who has power over himself." She has become that. Not in the masculine sense of dominance, but in the feminine sense of presence. She rules no one, but she bends for nothing. Her love is not contingent. It is sovereign. It is a blessing, not a bargain. And when she loves now, she does so without fear, without grasping, without playing games. She is not interested in proving herself or winning attention. She knows that anything built on fear will collapse. So she builds only with stone. Intention values truth. If a man cannot meet her there, she lets him go with grace. Not because she doesn't care, but because she no longer confuses pain with passion. The woman who no longer needs love has become love's highest expression. Her presence alone awakens the soul. Her stillness silences chaos. Her gaze reminds you of what is sacred. And in her silence, there is power. A power that does not control, but commands. Not by force, but by depth. Because she has become the very thing she once sought in others. To witness her now is to witness someone who has tasted her own soul and found it sweeter than any kiss. She walks through the world unhurried, unprovoked, untouched by the tidal pull of need that once dragged her into storms wearing someone else's name. She is not invincible, no. She is deeply human, but she is no longer ruled by the ache to be loved, because she no longer doubts her own lovability. There was a time when silence from him meant panic, when a delayed reply unraveled her day, when being ignored echoed like abandonment. But that woman is gone. She has outgrown the cage of proving her worth through someone else's presence. Now silence is space, a gift, a filter through which truth reveals itself. If he does not rise to meet her, he is not meant to walk beside her, and she does not crumble when this is revealed. She exhales, because absence no longer means she is not enough. It means the path is clearing for something more aligned. Marcus Aurelius taught, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." She has. And so when love comes or goes, her center holds. She does not beg for closure or twist herself into someone palatable. She offers truth. She offers grace. And then she releases, because attachment to her is no longer evidence of love. It is evidence of fear, and she will not live a life ruled by fear masked as devotion. Her relationships now mirror her healing. They are no longer battlegrounds for the wounded self. They are mirrors, clean and unfiltered, showing both the beauty and the work still to be done. She welcomes that. She is not afraid of discomfort anymore. She has walked through the fire of herself, and it did not destroy her, it refined her. And so, her love is a calm flame, not a wildfire that consumes, but a hearth that sustains. She does not offer it recklessly. Not everyone gets access. Not because she is withholding, but because she understands energetic stewardship. Her time is sacred. Her presence is earned. And her love, her true, unperforming, fully integrated love, is a treasure only those who walk in self-awareness can receive. She no longer plays the siren. That was a younger version of her, desperate to be seen, to be irresistible, to be chosen. Now she doesn't want to be irresistible. She wants to be resonant. She doesn't want to be pursued by many. She wants to be recognized by the one who sees her. Not her image, not her body, but her being. To love her now is to face yourself, because she will not carry your unhealed parts. She will not bend to accommodate your shadow. She has integrated her own and expects the same. She invites you to rise, not to earn her, but to meet her. She does not chase. She reflects. She does not seduce. She reveals. And in that revelation, men either stand taller or walk away. She is at peace with both. This peace is not a facade. It is not stoicism born from suppression. It is the earned stillness of someone who has grieved the loss of her illusions and buried them properly. She does not fantasize anymore. She does not need the fairy tale. She wants what is real. And real love is not perfect. It is conscious. It is intentional. It is self-aware. Too many women are taught to settle for sparks without substance, to romanticize the unpredictable, to chase the feeling of being wanted more than the reality of being valued. But she has unlearned all of it. The cultural scripts, the inherited wounds, the motherlines of martyrdom. She has rewritten the narrative. She is no longer the damsel. She is the sovereign. And so, the way she relates to love has changed forever. It is no longer a destination. It is not the prize at the end of worthiness. It is an extension of her wholeness, not the path to it. She gives without losing, receives without guilt, and walks away without bitterness when it no longer aligns. This woman knows that real love cannot find you until you stop chasing your reflection in others. It does not arrive to complete you. It arrives when you no longer betray yourself in the name of being held. It arrives when you have built a home within your own soul. And it does not come with fireworks, with obsession, with chaotic highs. It comes with a quiet yes, with shared stillness, with steady presence. The love that lasts does not demand sacrifice of your essence. It requires your essence. That is the difference. And she, now whole, now free, will accept nothing less. There is a sacred silence that surrounds her now. A silence not of emptiness, but of sovereignty. She no longer fills it with fantasy, with frantic longing, with the endless cycle of trying to decipher the actions of a man who was never truly present. That silence has become her sanctuary. It is where her truth echoes clearly, uninterrupted by the noise of projections. She sees now how much of what she called love was simply a reenactment of an ancient wound, a reenactment of neglect, of absence, of proving her value to the emotionally distant. She understands now that she was not drawn to those men because they loved her deeply, but because they felt familiar. Familiar, like the original heartbreak? Familiar, like the childhood longing for someone to stay and finally see her. But she sees herself now. She no longer builds temples in men's potential, no longer falls for promises laced with ambiguity, no longer confuses mystery with depth, nor emotional distance with masculine stoicism. She has developed the discernment that only solitude can teach. She knows what is real because she has met her own shadow and survived the encounter. The feminine that rises in her now is not performative. She does not flirt for validation. She does not need to be told she is beautiful to believe it. Her beauty is no longer a currency. It is an afterglow of her peace. She wears her boundaries like silk, not hard, not brittle, but unbreakable. She does not need to scream to command attention. Her energy speaks long before she does. And what it says is this: I belong to myself. She has learned the rarest skill of all: emotional self-regulation. She no longer lets someone else's inconsistency determine her inner weather. She has traded anxious pursuit for patient stillness. She understands the truth of Epictetus's wisdom. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. And the feelings, actions, or affections of others, those are beyond her control. So she lets them go. She does not chase love, because she knows now that love that must be chased will never stand still long enough to be received. She does not cling because she has unlearned the addiction to uncertainty. She does not fantasize because she is rooted in reality. And in that grounded space, she has discovered the most intoxicating freedom, the freedom from needing to be loved. It is not that she doesn't want love. She does, deeply. But want and need are not the same. One stems from fullness, the other from fear. One is desire, the other dependency. And she refuses to build love on the shaky ground of fear. She knows that to need someone to complete her is to forget her wholeness. And when love does arrive now, because it often does, it feels different. It doesn't sweep her off her feet. It doesn't set her nervous system on fire. It doesn't trigger 1,000 questions of, does he really want me? Because she no longer wants to be wanted in the way she once did. She wants to be known, seen, met, not for her performance, but for her presence. So she listens. She observes. She lets love prove itself over time. She knows the masculine that is worthy of her depth will not be threatened by her independence. He will not flee from her truth. He will not try to contain her. He will meet her, not with conquest but with reverence. He will not seek to fix her, for she is not broken. He will not try to define her, for she has already defined herself. He will not run from her fire, because he has done the work to sit in his own. And if he does not come, she does not panic. She does not spiral, because she has something far greater than romance now. She has peace, and peace, once known, is not easily surrendered. It becomes the new standard, the new temple, the new truth. This is the woman who no longer needs love to feel whole. She brings wholeness to love. And that changes everything. There is a moment, subtle, uncelebrated, yet profound, when a woman wakes up and realizes she is no longer waiting. Not waiting for a message. Not waiting for the apology. Not waiting for the right man to arrive and finally give her the life she dreams of. She is not waiting because she has arrived into herself, fully, completely, and without apology. This is not the end of her story. It is the rebirth. She has stepped beyond the threshold where love was currency, where affection was earned through pleasing, and presence was negotiated through silence. That world is gone now. She lives in a different realm, a psychological and emotional plane, where she is no longer defined by her role in someone else's life. She is no longer a reaction to his desires or his absence. She is a creation of her own becoming. She has mastered the quiet rituals that anchor her, the way she protects her peace, the way she tends to her joy, the way she listens not just to what others say, but to what her body whispers in their presence. Her intuition, once overridden by need, is now her compass. If a man's energy feels unsafe, she does not try to understand him. She honors herself. If he sends mixed signals she doesn't decode, she disengages. She does not make excuses for behavior that her nervous system reads as betrayal, because her body remembers, her soul remembers, and now she listens. The woman who no longer needs love does not live without desire, but she lives without desperation. She has traded the fantasy of forever for the sacredness of truth. She understands that love is not about duration. It is about depth. It is not about possession. It is about presence. It is not about being chosen. It is about choosing, consciously and with discernment. She does not fear solitude, because she knows that it was in solitude that she met her most loyal lover, herself. She faced the shadow, danced with the pain, held the weeping parts with maternal grace. She became the partner she once begged others to be, the witness, the protector, the provider, the safe place. And now, when a man comes to her, he does not find a woman hoping to be saved. He finds a woman who has already survived, a woman who has already risen, and he knows, either rise with her or be left behind, not out of cruelty, but because she will not lower her soul to fit inside a smaller story. There is no bitterness in this, only clarity, only truth. Her love is a sanctuary, not a battlefield. She gives deeply, but not endlessly. She is open, but not available to chaos. She is kind, but not pliable. And if love is not nourishing, if it does not mirror the reverence she has for herself, it has no place in her life. Real love comes to her now not because she needs it, but because she has become its frequency. She no longer asks, "Will he love me?" She asks, "Does this love reflect the peace I have cultivated?" If the answer is no, she lets go. Not as punishment, but as preservation. She no longer bleeds to keep others warm. The child within her, the girl who once searched faces for signs of safety, now sleeps peacefully. She is no longer in control. The woman is awake, and this woman does not chase. She chooses. She does not need the fireworks. She does not need the high of being adored for a moment only to be discarded the next. She has outgrown that drama. She now knows that love, real love, is not a story of conquest. It is a space of expansion. And when she gives her heart now, she gives it not as a test, not as a gamble, but as a gift. A rare and sacred offering to the one who sees her clearly and meets her deeply. She does not fear the giving, because she knows that even in love's ending, she remains whole. No man completes her. No title defines her. No relationship validates her, because she has done the work. She has walked through fire and did not burn. She has met herself in the dark and did not flinch. She has stopped needing love, and in doing so, she has become the kind of woman love cannot help but find. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses.